know where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We've touched down from a higher plane. Why you landed here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We got to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfield.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by BetOnline.AG. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from NFL playoffs to pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and much more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline.AG, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Chief Concerns. I'm Marcus Dash here with our legendary and our friendly neighborhood tight end, Jason Dunn. JD, how we doing, buddy?
What's up, my brother? How you doing, man? How are you, man? It's just here we had like a week off, supposedly, but actually it wasn't a week off. We're watching these games because every single game is indicative of what's going to be happening for these next couple of weeks. And so we watched some great football this weekend. So that's how I'm doing, man. It's football season, the playoffs. Man, it just filled with energy and excitement, right? Down to the wire. We see some things. Jacksonville coming back at the end. People didn't believe Dallas was going to do what they did, okay? Minnesota losing to the Giants. I mean, everything. So this weekend itself is going to be fireworks all weekend.
It's always good when you have the bye, you don't really have to pay attention to the games, or like you pay attention to the games because we're football fans, but like as far as our heart and emotion to the game, it's like, okay, we can actually we sit back and just watch as fans and actually be like into the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, shoot, I think you still have an interest because you got to wonder who you're going to be playing,
True.
Right? And it's like, shoot, if Miami beats Buffalo, which we wanted to happen, and the Ravens without Lamar, we're going to win. Since I almost beat them, I had it. Oh, what about that whole deal? Wasn't that crazy? That whole that swing in itself with that fumble return for a touchdown, that was the determination of the game right there.
For me, this is one thing I don't know if you can tell me from what you think the reason is for this.
Yeah.
Back in the day when Leeds, for example, the Buffalo game, Buffalo was handling Miami. They were crushing. It was like 17-0 at one point.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, you turn on the game. I look at the ESPN app and I see, well, oh my God, Miami's back in the game. It's like, what the heck? It's tied game 17-7, and they went up by 3 for a little bit. And every game this weekend was like that, besides the Seattle and the 49ers game. That was a handled game from I think Seattle came back for a little bit, but then San Francisco took care of business. Every other game, it was like, whoa, what happened? They came back, and I'm seeing more comebacks in this day and age for the last few years than I've ever seen for every sport. What do you think that? What do you think that is? Because back when you played, if a team was handling business, they were handling business. There was no comebacks like we were seeing these days. Why do you think that is, JD?
I really believe it has to do with the playoffs in itself, and I think when you realize the playoffs is either you go home after this game, okay? There's no tomorrow. You're going home. That's it. Go on a fishing trip, whatever. It's over. And so when you realize the gravity of the game in itself, it's about this focus that locked in that, somebody's probably on the sideline crying and getting in everybody's tail, crying like with just emotion, like, man, we ain't gonna just let these guys. And so something happened and there's a shift. There's a shift in the thought process. And even the team that might be up by 2 touchdowns, like here's the Chargers beating the Jags. There's also this we got this lead. We don't want to lose this lead. And so that mindset changes too, because you don't want to make a mistake, because a team, something happens a team could come back into the game, right? It is like that momentum shift that comes into it. It is like the turnovers and things like that happen. And so just like the players in the playoffs, the coaches also too, they get a little tight, man. Yeah. When I'm telling you that, boom, when it get like that, when I'm telling you that tightness, and old sphincter gets a little tight on jokers, you start seeing it. So we've seen a lot of that this weekend.
Yeah.
You realize why teams are playoff teams for a reason, you know? So that's another thing you got to realize too. It ain't the guys that, shouldn't be out there playing. These guys were playing tough all year. It's some part of it that the teams that made it didn't necessarily question made it to the playoffs. And so I think the only one that really, to me, was a question was Tampa Bay.
Yes.
That was probably the only team I was sitting there thinking like, they get in, whatever. Yeah. Everybody else, AFC and NFC, it looked exactly how I thought it was going to look. I didn't see any other shocks or surprises. And so that's what it was. I think that's really what it is. It's playoff football, baby. It's playoff football. That's what we're here for. Marcus, what we're here for.
I thought this was interesting. Since we're sponsored by BetOnline, so I thought this was interesting. Whenever I see these bets, I'm always like, oh my gosh. I don't know if you saw this. So a guy, when the Chargers were dominating Jacksonville, this guy better put $1.4 million on the Chargers while they were up. So the return wouldn't be that much, right?
Right.
So the guy put $1.4 million to win $11,200. So the guy ended up losing $1.4 million on that.
You kidding? Are you serious?
Crazy. The thing I see when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, it's obviously some guy who didn't put his life savings on. It's obviously the guy is throwing $1.4 million. That the guy obviously has a lot of money to blow, obviously. But yeah, the guy lost $1.4 million to win $11,000. That's all.
Do you really need $11,000? You got 1.4. Do you really need 11? You need the 11. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
So yeah, heck no. Sure.
And at that moment, I think if you bet, I think someone put it online. If you bet $100 on Jacksonville at the lowest point in the game, you just put $100 on it, you would have won $2,000, I believe. So if you put $50 on it, you would have won $1,000 to bet on Jacksonville. So
that $100 bet is a lot better. Would have paid out well, right?
100%. Yeah. Gosh.
Jeez. I had no idea. That's man. Feel bad for that guy.
Yeah. But so we got a special treat for you guys this week. We've hinted at it on Twitter. We hinted at it at first, then we told you guys who it was because a few of our viewers and listeners got who the player was. Quinn Gray, who was a quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then he ended up playing for us for a year in 2008. He just got a job at Albany State University, Division II school as a head coach. So we're bringing him on here to talk a little bit about some college ball, some high school ball, and the recruiting process. And of course, a preview of the divisional round game with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we are happy to show you that interview right now. What's going on, Quinn?
Man, I'm so sorry, man.
Oh, you're good.
We've been running around here in Atlanta, man, trying to recruit some good kids and got a little bit tied up, but I do apologize, man, about that.
Oh, you're good.
Late and all that good stuff.
Man, you go to the what's up, man? By the way,
good?
Brother, how you doing, man? You doing all right?
Doing well.
Good. They still do the convention where they bring all the guys together, like in one little spot, and just get coaches meet all the different players and stuff.
Yeah, they had it this year. The 9th, I believe it was the 9th, the 7th through the 10th was, and they had it in Charlotte this past year. So yeah, okay. They still do the AFCA. Yep.
All right, cool. Yeah, man, I was at Kentucky State University, man, for 5 years. So I know the whole mix of down there in Atlanta and meeting guys and trying to get all that recruiting done, man.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. How you been, brother?
Man, I'm running around like a chicken with a head cut off, man. But it's good, man. I'm excited about it, having fun with it right now, and it'll slow down in a little bit, but right now it's going 100 miles an hour.
It's that time of the year, man. Everybody's trying to get their last bid in.
Absolutely. We're doing a good job of collecting some quality young men from the Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina area, because any state that touches that touches Georgia is considered in-state for us. So that's a big plus. So, you know, we're doing our due diligence and beating these roads up, man, trying to find some good kids.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now you got the head coaching job over at Albany.
Yes. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
That's
one of my lifelong goals, man, was to be a head coach, and you know, Dr. Fredget and Mr. Duckworth, and you know, the Albany State family has given me a great opportunity to do that, man. So I don't take it lightly.
It's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. So I know the kids are better for it. Albany State just got better for sure. You know, having you out there. So, like I said, man, congratulations on that move. You know,
thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, man, I got some kids, man. I'll send some down your way from up here in Kentucky. So
don't threaten me with a good time. Send them on. Send them on, man. Send them on. We're always looking for quality kids, no matter what, man. Because you know, grand scheme of things, we get some out-of-state kids. There are some waivers for that as well if they are in the state that don't touch Georgia. So, you know, there's opportunities. You know, our university does a good job of allowing us to bring kids from all different places. So with them doing that, you know, we're able to do some different things with waivers and all that good stuff. You know, along with any other student that goes to the school, there's waivers and stuff. So I think it's a great thing that they're doing at ASU with the border waivers and all that good stuff. So we're looking forward to having a good time, man, getting this thing going.
Yeah. You know, I'm a big believer, man, in just creating opportunities. When I got out, retired from football, I just said that, you know, one thing I wanted to do when I came back to the state of Kentucky was I wanted to really kind of promote the kids out there even more, right?
Right. Yeah. Just
understanding their process from, you know, from high school, going into college, and then guys that may have aspirations of going into the NFL. So, sometimes when we know it, like from high school to college, it's the blind leading the blind.
No question.
Parents just don't really understand. They don't understand the recruiting process. You know, also the process.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, you know, and also too, when we're talking about connection, there's another thing.
Yeah.
So I would see parents come to me all the time. It's like, you know, Coach Dunn, we don't know who to get in contact with, or who have the huddle accounts, who they talk to. And sometimes it when you look for the high school coaches to do that, and it may be different down there, but I know here in the state of Kentucky, it was almost like, hey, we just leave it up to the parents to kind of do it. I'm just like, what do you mean? You're leaving it up to
right? Yeah. You know, recruiting has changed, man. You know, with the advent of the transfer portal, man, this thing has gotten absolutely crazy. You know what I mean? You know, being at Albany State, being a Division II school, man, we're actually able to touch some kids that we probably would have never been able to touch 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Just because there's so much talent that's left out there from the high school scene, because these colleges are deciding to go the transfer portal route, and, you know, not really try to develop kids in a sense from the high school ranks. So recruiting has definitely changed, man. When it comes down to, you know, the high school kids and the parents, they definitely don't understand really the process unless they've been through it before. What they got to understand is, you know, it is a process. It's not a 1 day thing. It's not a 2 day thing. It's really a 4-year thing when it comes down to starting in 9th grade all the way up until he's out as a senior or decided or has the opportunities as a senior to sign somewhere. So that's when the process ends. But that process starts as soon as he walks on a high school campus, maybe even before that. But, you know, to start taking your kids to these different colleges and putting them in front of coaches is the best thing you can do. Taking them to different camps and being, you know, the invention of the mega camps has been absolutely amazing for kids. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, you know, you go to one college camp, that's one college that you was in front of. With these mega camps now, you're in front of 10, 11, 12, depending on what camp you go to, you can be in front of as many as 30 schools at one time on one field, you know. So with the NCAA allowing that to happen, you know, they've given kids opportunities to get in front of more and more coaches at one time than ever before. So parents do need to understand the process of making their kid become somebody, you know what I mean, in terms of being known and getting their name out there. It is a coach's job. It is a coach's job to put their kids in the right situation on the high school level. And I think it also is a coach's job to make sure they're pushing their kids towards college opportunities. And if they aren't doing that, they aren't doing their program any justice. They're doing an injustice, if you ask me.
That's right.
Because that's what, at the end of the day, you should be striving for if you're a high school coach, getting your kids in situations to further their careers, further their academic careers, and getting them on somebody's college campus. Let's just be honest. Everybody ain't gonna make it.
Right,
you know what I mean? Everybody ain't going to play college ball. But those that have dreams and aspirations to do that, it really is a coach's duty, in my opinion, to make sure that he's putting his best foot forward to make sure those kids garner opportunities on the next level, whether it be Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, or junior college. There's routes for these kids to get to. It's just a matter of putting your best foot forward to solicit whatever opportunity that kid deserves. And if it's a Division 2, it's Division 2. If you're a Division 1 FBS player, great. If you're a Power 5 kid, great. If you're a Division 2, what I think we get hung up on, and well, not us, but some of these kids get hung up on, is the Power 5. I got to go D1. Man, the NFL going looking under rocks for kids.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Right. I don't never down my school. I went to FAMU. I went to FCS school, Division 1 FCS school, and was a preferred free agent going to Jacksonville and made a career out of it. So if it's something that you want, they're going to find you. You know what I mean? You just got to put your best foot forward on film. You got to put it on film. You got to dominate your competition, because if you're a D2 kid and you're an average D2 kid, they'll go take an average Power 5 kid before they take an average D2 kid. So you got to dominate your competition at the end of the day. So, man, there's opportunities for kids. There's opportunities for coaches to get their kids in front of folks. And it's because when I was a high school coach, man, I used to travel the country. We took every summer, we took a charter bus. We used to do the Midwest trip. We did the Eastern shoreboard trip, and then we did the northeastern trip. We went to as far as Louisiana, and then on up through Mississippi, coming back through Georgia, Alabama, and all that good stuff. Then one year we went up the Eastern Shoreboard, South Carolina schools, Georgia schools on the eastern part of the country. Then we went North Carolina, on up a little bit to Virginia, and then came on back down through like the western parts of those states. And then one year we went up through Tennessee, hit Ohio, Pennsylvania, came back down through Virginia, West Virginia, and things like that. So, and then the crazy thing is, you know, the parents pay for it, you know. If those parents don't have to take them kids in them places, and you provide a way, them parents are more than willing to pay for it. I promise you. You telling me you're going to take our kids to see as many as 30 colleges and universities, and all we got to do is pay about $400 or $500? Oh, bet. They all for that. And you telling me they're going to be in your care, and we know you, and you're a great guy. You're going to take care of our kids as you always do. Oh, you know, they ready to throw that money at you for that. You know what I mean? Because it's an opportunity that we provided for our kids to get them in front of colleges, man. And, you know, I got kids that kids in big time programs now that I coach that went on those trips. Kamara Morales, that's playing with North Carolina now, tight end. Sage Ennis, that's playing at Clemson right now. Jalen Glaze, who was at Minnesota, that just transferred back home to FAMU. So there's plenty of kids, man, that have come through our program that's out there that were afforded the opportunity because we provided that space for them to get into, to be in front of coaches. You know what I mean? So, but you know, it is a duty of a head coach or coaches, period, on the high school level, in my opinion, to make sure they're putting their kids in some good situations to get in front of college coaches. Yeah,
and that's awesome. I'm just hearing that, and I'm going to pick your brain on that a little bit more. You know,
okay.
I'm trying to move into this space as well, as far as like consulting, right? That aspect of it. And what I've done is, like this past year, you know, COVID, my son is a senior.
Right.
I'm taking him on a couple of trips.
Right.
I see a lot of his friends, same thing like you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't have like that avenue like you were saying. Like that's a great idea. Like I'm
Right.
just listening to it, man. That's a phenomenal idea. I never thought about that. Of like taking a kid, a bus of kids,
Mm-hmm.
just taking them up, let them see all the schools around in that area, right?
Absolutely.
And like you were saying, it doesn't matter if it's NAIA, Division II, whatever it may be.
Right.
There's space for any kid, right? We know,
Yeah.
like not every kid's a D1. And I agree with that 100%. Kids
Mm-hmm.
get so caught up, man. If I'm not going to, Florida or UK or Georgia,
Yeah. That's a fact.
I ain't gonna play. I ain't going. But shoot,
Right.
like you said, they're gonna find you. I always tell kids that.
Yep.
Get out of here, you're gonna see a scout. I guarantee.
Yep.
Matter of fact, and like me and because we played in the NFL, shoot, they see that you're there, they be like, well, shoot, we just gonna come over here and go check Quinn out. Right?
That's a fact. Yep. That's a fact.
Hey, who you got for us? What you got? Hey, I'm gonna tell you who I got right here for you, coach. This kid right here.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good kid. He makes a lot of plays. He'll be great for practice squad, right?
Yep.
He
There
can
you
move
go.
to the start lineup. He can give you something.
That's a fact.
What I see sometimes, and because I'm so thankful, man. I went into high school first and then went into college.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing just the lack of communication where high school coaches wasn't doing that for the kids, right?
Right.
It was almost like, we use the kid and then let him go. It's the same thing in college. It's a bad situation, what guys do. At least in college, you're like, hey, look, you know what? We're going to earn you a degree, right?
Right.
If you get there on the football field, if they get your dream, let's get you a degree, at least getting out into the real world, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, it might be something else different. You might want to get sports management or something like that, where you can still, be able to, add on to what you want to do, right? Just
right. Mm-hmm.
But I seen like a lot of high schools, well, shoot, if you have the star kid, after that, they gone. They don't even talk to the kid no more unless he's living in the hometown or something like
that. That, some of what you run into these days sometimes, man, with these high school coaches, and it's not all of them. Trust me, it's not all of them. You have these I call them leech coaches, because they're using these kids to try to get jobs. You know what I mean? Yes. They use some of these Power 5 kids to try to get their next or get an opportunity on the college level instead of doing what's best for the kid and just making sure the kid has opportunities. They're trying to use some of those kids for opportunities for themselves. I get it. People want to, they want to progress and move up. I get all that, but there's a way to do that, man. And using the kid definitely ain't the route to take. But the one thing that I did do, you were talking about Division 2, 3, is on that trip, man. We went to HBCUs, we went to Power 5s, we went to D2s, we went to D3s and FCS schools because I had kids on those trips that weren't going to Power 5 schools. You know what I mean? And I had to be able to show those kids there's different routes besides having to go to Power 5. You may not get that opportunity to go to Power 5. So here's the alternative to Power 5. Yeah, they may not have the $70,000 seat stadium or the $100 million facilities, but they have a $25 million facility. They got a 30,000 seat stadium, and they play good football in it. You know what I mean? So, it was just the opportunity to show these kids that there's an alternative to just having a narrow mind of, I'm going Power 5 or else. You know what I mean? So it was tremendous for us because we had several kids that ended up going FCS, and then also had some kids that ended up going Division 2. So, for me, man, it was, very rewarding to be able to take those kids on those trips, see their eyes light up when they see some of those facilities, and just have a good time on the trip. Because we did some things on the trip while we were gone, because it was during the summer. So it was in the middle of, our summer training. So we did some conditioning while we was there. They thought we was getting in the pool to have fun. We did pool workouts and stuff like that. So, we got it in. You know what I mean? We got it in while we were there, man. So, it was just a great opportunity to be around the kids and fellowship, man, and then also give them and put them in front of college coaches to seek some opportunities.
Man. It's beautiful, brother. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, man. Marcus don't say nothing, man. He just sit there and nod his head all day.
He does, man. And Marcus he'll let us flow, man, because Marcus, I mean, he loves the conversation, the guys.
That's right. I get it.
Well, here are you guys. It's honestly amazing. I'm like a viewer just listening to you guys.
I got you. But no, man, it's man, these kids are the reason that we do what we do. You know what I mean? They're the reason. So for us to be able to have jobs as head coaches, assistant coaches, we have to do what's right by the kids, because if we don't, they are the ones that make up the game besides the pros. You know what I mean? And there's a whole lot more kids playing this game than the pros. So, there's opportunities for us to impact these kids, man, and make sure we're keeping them on the straight and narrow and keeping them on the right track. And, that's something that my dad did for a long time. And he's really the reason that I got into this coaching thing, man. He mentored a lot of kids down there at Dillard High School, and I saw the effect and the impact he had on them. You know what I mean? He had several pro athletes that came through his program: Isaac Bruce, Frank Sanders, Lorenzo White, Calvin Jackson, rest his soul. There's several more, Claude Jones, all those guys that played pro football, and then it's the number of college kids. It's immeasurable. He sent so many kids to what's now considered Power Fives, Division twos, and FCS schools, man. And just to see that impact that he had on people's lives is a reason that I do what I do today.
Where's it at?
At Dillard High School down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Lauderdale.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. That's home. So the old Lauderdale, man, down there, 2501 11th Street, Northwest 11th Street, man.
Yes, sir. I got you.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right by where I went to college. I went to Barry University in Miami.
Yeah, that's right. I know all about Barry down there, man. That's home for me, man. So I'm looking forward to getting down there next week recruiting, because that's where we'll be in the South Florida area recruiting next week. And we got several kids. I got several guys that I know, coaches that I played ball with, played against, that are now head coaches down there. So that pipeline is about to be major.
Ooh,
I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah. Speed and more speed, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, it's interesting to hear you guys say, talking to kids, because I remember when I was in high school, and that was something that I always thought about, is going D1, going D2, going the higher route, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to this visit. I'll never forget this. There was this D3 school, Oberlin College, that was really interested in me. I had a one-on-one meeting with, it was my mom, it was the offensive coordinator and the head coach, just me and the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Guy was so interested in me, but for me, I hear all my other guys on my team, they're going D1 or D2. Yeah. I didn't take that meeting as seriously. And now looking back at it, 10 years to 12 years later, I look back at that. I'm like, I didn't show my interest at all. I didn't care. It was a D3 school. I didn't care at all. I probably wouldn't have gotten in with my ACT scores not being as high, but at that moment, I remember not being into it at all. But afterwards, my mom's like, you weren't interested at all. You weren't asking any questions during that whole thing. So you were talking, but for some, you were just kind of very standoffish. I think they could probably feel that. Right. After that visit, and the D1 schools didn't come. D2, I ended up going to a D2 school, but looking back, and I should have gone to that D3 school.
Right.
But it's just one of those things that I wish my high school coach at the time would have talked to me about, that the whole D2, D3, that doesn't matter. As long as you get to play football at the next level, that should be the most important thing. And I think that's a lot of things that kids need to kind of hear that from their coach.
Absolutely, man. And that was one of the things that I preached and tried to drill into those kids' heads, man. And I said, the one thing that I told them, you got to like who like you, because if you go to a place where it's a bunch of women, and you walking in and one woman is staring you down and the rest of them done turn their back on you, you better like who like you. You know what I mean? So if she's staring at you, that's the one you want to talk to, instead of going to tap all them other ones on the shoulder and they just turn around on you. You know what I mean? So, these I think with the problem of that these kids face in high school today is with the transfer portal. They're a lot more open to the lower levels, because those are the opportunities that they're getting. Kids that probably would end up being Power 5 kids are now Some of them are group of 5 kids. Some of them FCS kids. You know what I mean? FCS kids are now becoming Division II kids. You know what I mean? So
right.
the level of play for these divisions are going to be picked up because the level of kid is sort of kind of dropping down a level because of the portal. So with that, we at Albany State, man, we've been hitting this thing running, and we got some great kids. Oh my God, man. There's some kids out here that I'm like, ain't no way I'm gonna get this kid. You know what I mean? And coaches be like, nah, coach, he ain't got nothing going on. No, ain't no way, coach. I say, I tell you what, send him to me. You know what I mean? So, man, it's for me, man, I get excited about giving kids opportunities to play at the next level because, I know what it did for me in my life. In terms of what I'm able to do right now for my family, both financially and, just as a man, you know what I mean? So the opportunity to play college ball is not many. So when you do get those opportunities, man, you want to take advantage of them.
Yeah.
Well, you got to show a little bit of interest though, Marcus. You can't just sit there and look.
All this ego and arrogance is what that is.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Looking back on it too, because when I went to that meeting, the school wasn't Oberlin. I don't know how they are now, but at the time they weren't a winning school. They were going like 1-9, 2-8 type seasons. But I remember going to that the coach's office. He had me like as a starting kick returner and punt returner, and I was like, ooh. But like now I think I'm like, ooh. But at the time I was like, it's D3. I don't want to go to D3. You know? And then I went to D2. I was miserable, and I transferred down to a different Division III school, but not that school that initially wanted me. And the analogy you gave was right, spot on. I wish my high school coach would have given me that analogy back in the day.
Absolutely, man. You gotta want who wants you, man. My wife wanted me, so I wanted her. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, I tell the kids all the time, man, you overlook something all you want, and a bird in hand is better than 6 in the bush. You know what I mean? So I tell these kids all the time, man, you got to want who wants you and take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, not the ones that you hope to get. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that these kids take advantage of the opportunities that they have.
Yeah, Mark was sitting in a meeting with the sunglasses on looking at the coach. Coach knew he didn't want it. He just sitting there like –
hey, y'all going to get up out of here, man.
Right, yeah. Y'all wasting your time right now.
That's right. Marcus ain't even feed the people, man. They came to the house. They ain't even feed them on a house visit. You know what I mean? Yeah, y'all ain't gonna be here long. Y'all come on, say hi to moms. Y'all going about your business, man.
My mom was actually pissed off about that meeting because we flew to Cleveland and we had to take like a bus to where the campus was in Ohio. She was pissed off, and I wasn't making any effort during that conversation to have.
I can imagine she was. As a dad, I'd have been pissed off too, because as a dad, if my son was to do some stuff like that, I'd stop the meeting and properly get him in place. These people came all this way to see you, and you're gonna act like you ain't interested. All right, I'll tell you what. When they leave, you can leave. You know what I mean? So because clearly you got a better opportunity somewhere that I don't know about. Because you sitting here as if these people purple or something. You better pay attention to these people, man. They offer you an opportunity. You gotta turn your nose up, man. You never know you got to cross that bridge, and then Marcus, you had to cross that bridge later on, right? So, man, that's why I'm a stickler for not burning bridges, man, and making sure you respect everybody and make sure you never burn bridges, because you never know when you got to cross them again, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus, you got his record, man. We're gonna get into this.
I've had it recording the entire time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Man, we're gonna get into some little football about some of these playoffs too, man.
Cool, man. Cool.
Man, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make sure we're gonna get this message out that you're talking, because I know you're walking it. I love that, because it's so important for kids to hear things like this, right?
That's right.
As much as they can hear it, the better off they're going to be. That's why I feel like it's filling people with knowledge and information as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Absolutely. That's all. That's because a lot of these kids just misinformed, man. They don't know. They
don't know.
They're ignorant to some of the stuff that they should know, because sometimes the coach just don't give it to them, and then sometimes they just this unfortunately this generation relies on social media so much for everything, man, that they don't take the time to search out and research the things that they need to be searching out. Because if you got hopes and dreams of going to play college ball, you need to be doing your due diligence in terms of trying to find out how you need to do that. So hey man, you got your NCAA ID or what? Yeah, the clearinghouse, buddy.
Right.
You need to be a part of that, because every kid that plays college ball has to have an NCAA ID. They don't went up on their price, but hey, that's a part of it. So, just that information, man, goes a long way for these kids, man. And I'm more than happy to sit down and get these kids these little tutorials of what they got to do and how they got to do it.
Quinn, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're doing everything with this recruiting stuff right now, so it's a busy time for you. We hear your phone going off, so it's obviously a busy time. So we appreciate you coming on. Talking Jags and Chiefs with us this week. So I got to ask you, you played the majority of your career in Jacksonville, but you played the 1 year in Kansas City. So when it comes to a game like this, are you leaning towards Jacksonville, rooting for Jacksonville over Kansas City?
You know what, man? I'm not necessarily rooting for them over Kansas City. I just know where the franchise has been, you know what I mean, in terms of Jacksonville. Kansas City, when they won Super Bowl, I was very, very happy for them. And, but I spent 6, 7, 8 years of my life in Jacksonville, as a player, and then another 3 as a high school head coach. So Duuuval has, a piece of my heart till I die. So I root for Jacksonville because, that elusive Super Bowl has sort of kind of continued to get away from us. So I'm rooting for them to, at some point get to that pinnacle and win it. You know what I mean? I think Trevor's doing a tremendous job of leading that franchise, man. Despite his hiccups the first half of last game, man, that just shows the resilience of that kid, man, and what he can turn into in the very, very near future. Because if he had a first half like he had the second half, we wouldn't even be talking about, any other things. But at the end of the day, that kid is very resilient. He's a competitor. He's going to be a champion one day. I just hope it's in Jacksonville. You know what I mean? So I do root for the Jags, man. I celebrate the Jags. I'm a part of the ambassadors program that we have there. And, we have a good time with it. And, when I get a chance to go to the games, I do. They show us love in terms of making sure we're taken care of when we're in town and coming to the games and all that good stuff. So it is Duuuval till we die, baby.
I hear you, man. So when you see these things, especially like in the playoffs, I know when the Jags first got into the league, when it was just that expansion team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything together. They had. You had some players down there, though, right?
Absolutely.
It was one of those things that you kind of seen a team that came in and started coming around with Tom Coughlin, started dominating a little bit, and then also it fell off at a certain point. It dipped.
Right.
So Jacksonville was like one of those teams after a while where people was like, man, we ain't even worried about the guys no more, right? It just they ain't even a factor in as far as like if you go down and go play them,
right?
Expect them to be an 8-8 team or whatever, somewhere like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now what you're starting to see, I guess, offensively, and this is what with me, I'm just a fan of, is the number of guys they got on the playmakers they got on that side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
At the end, Ingram, Zay Jones, Marvin, Kirk. They got some guys, right?
Right.
Offensively. And so I think it's going to be one of the biggest challenges for Kansas City, the defense.
Yeah.
What's kind of been plaguing a little bit of Kansas City has been, stopping the run a little bit early. Right. It's just kind of one of those things. If you get a running back that's going to get 20, 25 carries, right? Which at the end is one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Start toting the rock, you're gonna feed it to him, right?
That's right. Yeah.
How do you see as far as just that matchup with the offense against the Kansas City defense And how do you feel that's going to work out in the playoffs?
The thing that Jacksonville struggled with over the past several years was trying to find the right pieces to put around the quarterback. I think they finally, with those guys that you named, found some great pieces to put around Trevor. And for defenses, man, that's been something that some of these defenses have just had a time dealing with this season. Dallas just went in there and shut out Tom Brady, and Jacksonville beat him. You know what I mean? So those guys pose great threat to Kansas City in terms of defensively. I definitely think, when it comes down to the two offenses, Kansas City is going to have the slight edge because of who they are and what they've been able to accomplish over the last several years. But if Kansas City is going to win this game, I think it's going to be a situation where it may end up being outscoring Jacksonville. Because in the second half, just to be honest, Jacksonville just put the clamps on the Chargers. Yeah. Because the first half, the Chargers did basically what they wanted to the Jags, and it seemed like they went in the second half and decided that okay, it's enough, and decided to shut them down for the entire second half. So for me, man, I think if the Jags are able to go in there, put some pressure on the quarterback, man, and get some early success, I think that'll give them an opportunity to feel like they have a chance at winning that game. Not that they don't feel like they have a chance, but Arrowhead's a tough place to play, man. Yeah. You know that, I know that. Yeah. You getting that national anthem and home of the cheese, you know what I mean? So that's a tough place to play, man. And I loved every bit of the time that I was there. But if they can get past, because one thing I do know, if they start the game out that they did last week, it's a wrap. It ain't no coming back in Kansas City. I'm just gonna tell you that. Right. But the matchup says that it's going to be an offensive game, and the defense that figures it out first, I think, will end up being the team that wins the game, and the defense that's able to get the key stops in key situations is the team that's going to win the game. But it's tough to predict right now because you just don't know. But both offenses have been very, very, very good this year. And both defenses at some point have struggled in this year. But, playoff times, man, things get faster than the regular season. Things change than the regular season. Situations get a lot more critical when it comes down to it. So, I hope that both teams are prepared, and I'm sure they will be, because I think it's just going to be an outstanding game.
Yeah, just to watch how they decimated that lead, that the Chargers had. I ain't mean to cut you off, because me and one of my coaches, we had a recruiting weekend, and we were just sitting around at this restaurant, sitting at the bar, man, and we were watching the game. Uh-huh. And I was like, it ain't no way. I said, so I'm sitting there looking right before the half. I said, listen, and Chris Cash played with Detroit for several years, and he's on my staff. So I said, Cash, if Jacksonville scores before this half is over, they're going to win. Really?
I call Cash right now. I told Cash, I said, Cash, I don't know why I'm saying this. I told him just like this. I said, but if they score before the half, they're going to win the game. And I'll be darned. They came on back. I don't know what gave me that confidence, but I just knew the half that the offense had, Trevor's half, yeah. I just knew, like, that ain't him. Like that. Four of them. That just don't happen. So for me, I was like, he calmed down. He comes out in the second half and does what he normally does. We'll win the game because the defense gonna settle down. Trevor's gonna settle down, and once all that happens, they're gonna put it together. They're gonna win the game, and I'll be dog.
Man, look, we know this because we play the percentages, right? And so we know after one turnover, 2, 3. It's almost improbable to win the game, right?
So there was no way that they were supposed to win that game.
Right. The numbers just tell you. I mean, it's just correct. Numbers tell you are not supposed to win this game. 4 turnovers in one half, there's no way. A quarterback that does that is probably shook. right?
No
I mean,
question.
he's lost all type of confidence. He don't know what's going on, especially playoffs now. I mean, the defense is flying around. I mean, they, James is out there. Samuel, he's out there. He's doing his look. I mean, it's
right.
So
just like his daddy.
Right. Come on, man. Just like you, baby.
Just like his daddy. Because I grew up, his dad and I played Little League football. I mean, baseball together. I grew up with his dad. I used to beat him running, but he got a little bit faster when he got Zonte is a good friend of mine, man.
Okay.
His son is doing tremendous things, but looked just like his daddy when he was out there this past weekend.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Playing phenomenal ball. And I didn't stop. I'm going to be honest with you. I turned the game off. About third quarter, I said, man, this game is over.
Yeah.
And I didn't even watch the rest of the game. And I sure enough, later on at night, and I'm sitting over here and I'm watching, and they talking about Jacksonville just won this game, turned off. I said, wait a minute, hold on. This
ain't no way.
Ain't no way. Right. And I'm sitting over there like, no, wait. And I'm going, Twitter, check it out. And I'm looking at this. I said, I have got to watch this second half of this game.
Right.
And when you're talking about mistake-free, just going in, playing detail ball, stepping back there, just making throws. I mean, it was methodical how they went through it, right? It was.
Masterful, man.
And we talking about focused and locked in that second half. I was like, wow. Yep. Seriously, with a Chargers team that have that type of defense, watch how they just dismantled them. I mean, just took all the confidence, everything, just rolling. I can't believe you called it the first half. It's like, man, if they could score before the half, man, I can't. Wow.
Man, listen, I told my boy Cash, I said, Cash, let me tell you something. If they score before the half, we're gonna win this game. I'll be dog, man. I'll be dog. We traveled, put it together, man. Defense found a way and settled down, man, and they got the job done. They made the plays that needed to be made in those key situations, and that's all football is, situational football. And one thing about that mo, we know once that mo go the other way, boy, it ain't no stopping it, because it's like an avalanche. You know what I mean? So that momentum is something different, something crazy, man.
And it wasn't even like the Chargers, like it ain't like they got conservative in their play calling either.
Not at all. Not at all.
They went about their business, same thing they was doing. And I'm just like a whole different team second half, man. And so absolutely. When I'm looking at this weekend, that's kind of like the team I don't want to show up, that second half team, right? Found their way to win, found their confidence, And I know I played with Doug in Philly for a little bit, so I know Doug real well, and I know his mindset about things. Of course, he knows Andy real well, right? That's another thing you had to factor in is Doug Peterson playing Kansas City, with his old mentor.
Yeah,
this is what it's going to be, right? So. Doug, this is a great opportunity, right? To find, to play against Andy, right? They lost one in the year earlier, but now he's just like, okay, we got this thing rolling the right way on how to be, what we should do. And so if I'm looking at their mindset coming into to Arrowhead, right? What he knows real well, everything. Andy's mindset about, the tempo of the game, how he's going to call it pretty much, how the crowd is going to be there. That's just a wealth of information for the team to know, especially in the playoff, situation, playing in Arrowhead, right? So that's going to be the difficult part that I see Kansas City have to overcome. But like you said, I think with the guys that have been there before, right? A team that's been 4 AFC championship games, 2 Super Bowls. You got guys in the room who understand what it takes to go to the next level.
Absolutely.
And so
that's where they have the upper hand.
That's the upper hand.
That's exactly where they have the upper hand. Guys that have experience in these situations.
Right.
And they've been in these situations over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's where like I said, if Jacksonville can find a way to settle down early, because I think last week was very, very indicative of a young team that's never been there before. You know what I mean? So for them to go in there this week with a win under their belt and finding a way to win, hopefully that'll give them an opportunity to settle down early and do the things that they need to do to try and win the football game. Because if they don't, they go in there again, like I said, if they go in there with that same stuff they started last week with, it won't be a game. Instead of 30, the 20s, whatever the score was, it's going to be 40 because Kansas City going to put them points up. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, they have to go in there and find a way. be able to take the crowd out of it somehow, and also keep Mahomes under control, in the first half. And if they can do that, they get themselves a chance.
So let's look at that side of the ball, right? Kansas City's offense against Jacksonville's defense, okay? And I'm looking at the same thing, like you said, the matchup in itself, where Pacheco had just been playing stellar football, okay, all year. He just really has. And so, you got obviously Travis Kelce, who's going to be out there, who's going to be balling, okay? You got to take care of. You got now JuJu is in a factor. Kadarius Toney is another guy who's going to be doing it. MVS out there who's going to be at. So you have so many pieces, and talking about McKinnon and Pacheco also too in the running back.
Right.
I'm looking for these guys to start rolling a little bit. I think some of the question has always been about the offensive line. Right?
Yeah.
You know that Jacksonville, man, that pass rush, when I see these jokers, man, they long, they big, they strong. You know, it's going to be like one of those issues. Kind of talk a little bit about that as far as like from the offensive standpoint in Kansas City going against the Jacksonville defense.
The one thing I think that kept Kansas City from winning it, what was that? Was it last year?
Yeah.
Last year was the inability to protect Mahomes at times. And, I think in this game with Jacksonville coming in there, man, and having those young guys, them young studs like they got, man, it's gonna be a tale of the tape, to be honest with you. Because if they can keep if they can keep Mahomes upright, it's gonna be a long night. You know what I mean? Because them guys, one thing about Andy Reid, he's gonna throw that ball vertical. He's gonna throw it vertical, and he's gonna throw it vertical again. He's gonna throw it vertical again after that. They ain't got a problem with taking shots. He's gonna take 10 shots a game, and that part of it you love as a quarterback, because your coach and your play caller ain't afraid to take shots. But in taking those shots, that constitutes having to hold up a lot longer on that offensive line. You know what I mean? And with the studs that Jacksonville have up front, man, it's going to be tough. So, because Jacksonville creates pressure without even bringing extra guys. You know what I mean? So if you're able to do that with Kansas City and maybe put some type of double team on Kelce, I think Jacksonville's secondary holds up against Scantling and JuJu Smith-Schuster and all that good stuff. But what you have to do, you have to control Mr. number 87. Because if you don't, it's going to be a long day for you, man. I promise you. But another thing that they have to do up front, man, is make sure they collapse the pocket. Because if they don't collapse the pocket and they leave lanes, Patrick will get up out of there. You know what I mean? So he is very, very mobile when he needs to be. And if you create lanes for him to find his way through there, he will slip through there and make plays with his legs. So, along with Jacksonville getting pressure, they have to make sure it's the right pressure and they're collapsing the pocket and not creating lanes for Patrick to escape in.
Yeah. That's I was watching one of the news reports earlier, and they were saying how Mahomes, in preparation for this game, he was watching a lot of the film from the Tampa Bay film from the Super Bowl. Mike Caldwell was the linebackers coach, who's a DC in Jacksonville now. So he's saying he was trying to see the changes in coverages and how they do a lot of stuff, and he was watching in preparation for this. He was watching Tampa Bay's footage from that 2020. And also another thing that JD and I we talked about when we played during the season. I know different team, right? They were the 3-7 at the time. We were 7-2 at the time. But one thing we noticed at that time was that they were physical and they were laying the wood on us. Cisco was dominating us. And obviously he had that one hit on JuJu there, which a lot of Chief fans are still pissed off about. But I mean, they were laying the wood on us. And that was something that also in that 2020 Super Bowl, they were physical, but they're more physical than us. And that's just going to play a big part in this game. When you say,
yeah, I think it definitely is, man, because if it's one thing that we've been in Jacksonville and one thing that people will always say, because you come from that old school, Jacksonville was in that division back in the day when it was the Ravens, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. I think they used to call that before they made the divisions that they're in now, it was the AFC North division. I don't know how Jacksonville got to be a part of that, but it was hell because you playing Pittsburgh twice a year, you playing those guys twice a year, and physical was a part of. You had to be physical to play in that because it was nothing but downhill power counter running leads and all that good stuff. So Jacksonville has always sort of kind of been known for their physical play. You sometimes look at Kansas City as sort of kind of one of those what they were used to call the greatest show on turf, the Rams. They weren't real physical, but they throw the ball around quite a bit and they beat people through the air. But when it's all said and done, the physicality part of it has to show up for Kansas City if they plan on winning this game, because Jacksonville will be physical. They will punch you in the mouth. You got to be able to take it and punch back. And that part of it, one thing, like you said, when he was a linebackers coach at Tampa Bay, and now the coordinator with Jags, Tiger don't change his stripes much. You know what I mean? What he's successful with, that's what he's gonna do. He won the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay with it, and I'm sure he's doing some of the same things with, some minor changes here and there. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it at the end of the day. So again, Tiger don't never change his stripes. He may get wet and they may get a little fuzzy, but at the end of the day, they're still the same stripes when you look at it.
When he's in a meeting, he's telling them, like, every hit you can get on a guy, get it.
Absolutely.
Take it in.
That's that old Greg Williams mentality. That bounty stuff that Greg Williams used to do. But man, I had a guy that Bobby McCray, that played at University of Florida, played with us in Jacksonville and went on with the Saints when Greg Williams was the D coordinator when they won the Super Bowl that year. And he will tell us, man, Greg will tell you, whatever you do, get a hit on him. As long as it's in between the whistle, get a hit on him. Get a hit on him. So, with that, Jags have always been a physical team. Even when I played, we were one of the more physical teams in the league those years. And it seems as if they've gotten that part of their identity back.
And it's kind of crazy because that's what people always say. Kansas City is finesse. They're a finesse team, right?
Yeah.
They do all these they gimmicky and they do things like that, right? And so I think it's just the brilliance of Andy in itself, what he brings to the table.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so one thing I know for sure, like you was talking about vertical, but horizontal, he's going to make sure that you cover every blade of grass out there.
Yes, he is.
Field, right?
Yes, he is.
So I love a lot of what he does as far as like trying to out leverage, the defense. And I think it's going to be one of those factors of just, the shifts and the motions to give the defense something to look at. Right. And I think he's so great at it, especially like in Arrowhead. I think it's going to be part of the game plan. Right. I mean, you have to. Especially
absolutely.
I mean, if you're with the D line is playing like that, you got to give them something else to look at. Okay,
absolutely.
So, hey man, see ball, go get ball. Right.
That's right. That's right.
Looks, so it's a lot of window dressing. I think is one of those things that has to be into the game plan. I'm sure it is going to be.
Right. I think you got to do that to slow those guys down just a tad. What I mean? You gotta bring some speed motion. You gotta bring some short motion and make those guys' eyes move. You know what I mean? Make them turn their head to look and see what's going on. You know what I mean? In order to do that, like you said, man, you gotta window dress it and give them different looks, because if you stay stagnant, which Kansas City doesn't do, if you stay stagnant and just line up in your formations, man, Jags gonna beat you. I'm just gonna tell you, Jags gonna beat you because they gonna out physical you and find a way just to get it done.
Well, we see that's what the Chargers wasn't really doing. Chargers just line up. They and they play.
The one thing the Chargers were doing it early on, early on because they were motioning 13 all over the place, snapping it while he was on the run, throwing quick and all that good stuff. And it seems as if the Jags was just 2-3 steps behind. And then second half, it seems as if they got away from it a little bit, and look how that turned out. So, for me, man, when it comes down to play calling, why go away from what's been working? And if it's been working, like that old adage, man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You got up 27 points in the first half with motioning and throwing that ball quick, and you get to the second half and just totally have a different game plan, man, because you you know that they've made adjustments, but you got to come out in the second half and see what type of adjustments they made and see if they were the correct adjustments. You know what I mean? Because if they go make adjustments and they ain't the correct adjustments, well, why are we changing what we're doing? You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, they got in the second half and stopped doing what they were doing, man, and it cost them the game.
Yeah. And you know, you was talking about double teaming Travis. I mean, you got to be able to move Travis around. That's one thing I said, look, you just can't line him up and let linebackers, defense end get a hand on and beat him up. Yeah. Just moving him around because he's so good at slipping by guys and getting open and just, you know, setting them up. And they have such a great relationship and rapport, what they do offensively, especially with him and Mahomes. Yeah, man, it's going to be a great game this weekend. I think so too, man. I think it's going to be a good one. I don't foresee a blowout unless we have some stuff like we saw last week. But I foresee these guys coming out, settling down early, and hopefully not allowing the crowd to get into it too early. And if they can keep that under control, man, if they can limit the turnovers and put some pressure on Patrick, they give themselves a great chance.
Hopefully, Andy runs the ball a little bit more than the Chargers did. I think the Chargers only ran it 9 times in the second half. 9
times. Crazy. You got a 27-point lead and you run the ball 9 times. I get it. I don't get it, but I get it now. Now you know, you know what I mean. But man, it's one thing about football. It never changes. It never changes. All that changes is some of the verbiage and, you know, how people get to certain things. But football, the same football as when we played, man, and they just call it different stuff. So, you know, everybody want to be a guru nowadays, and you whatever you did, man, people done did it 3-4 times before. They just called it something different.
Mm-hmm. Right. You see all these gurus losing their job too, don't you?
There you go.
Hey,
there you go.
Yeah. Take that mess with you somewhere else, man. Hit the street with it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, goodness. Yeah, take you and your guru and your expertise somewhere else.
Right.
We don't need it.
Before we head out as the last topic here, I think I know where you're headed there, Quinn. But so we got the game picks. So Chiefs host the Jags 4:30 Eastern Standard Time on NBC on Saturday. First game of the playoff divisional weekend. What we're calling at Chiefs, we're calling it the Quinn Gray Bowl. The Chiefs Jags game. So Chiefs are 8.5-point favorite. Also, the highest total points for the weekend. Vegas has the Chiefs and Jags game at 53, which is the highest point total for the weekend.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you guys, who do you guys have, and what's your score for this weekend?
Ooh, man. I think the Jags go in there and surprise some folks, man. I really think they go in there and play well. I think they've learned from the mistakes that they've made in the first half of last week's game. I think they, with Doug being so familiar with Andy, that sort of gives the guys a different feel and a different advantage as well. So I'm gonna go Jags, man. I'm gonna go Jags, and I'm gonna go 27-24.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
27-24.
Okay. Well, I agree with Quinn that it's going to be a offensive game, no doubt about it. And obviously these guys know about it, and I think it's going to be a battle of wits, really, on the offensive end. They're going to be pulling out all stops.
Stops.
Yeah. So Doug going to be blowing off some old papers from somewhere he done wrote up. That he didn't agree with Andy on the play.
Right.
Like,
right.
I got something else for him. But I think the advantage goes to Kansas City because you're in Kansas City for one.
Yeah.
Two, like you said, if all the guys that get out here play, and I think that extra week, it's one of those things that can either hurt you or help you, right?
You already knew that.
Yeah, you're talking about being the physical part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be weighing in, but also, too, those guys didn't take hits out in Kansas City. And so it gave a chance for guys to kind of get healthy, little bumps and bruises. And Andy does a great job managing those guys,
absolutely,
especially during that week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Pat and them, man, because they got their eyes on, trying to get this thing done, right? And I don't think they're looking past. Everybody talking about the Buffalo game and Bill. Look, this right here is what matters. And I'm guaranteed that Andy's saying we got to get past this before anything else. It's the only thing we need to take care of. So I think it's going to be, I'm giving a nod to Kansas City 31-24. That's where I'm going to be at with it, okay? I think Jacksonville's it's going to be a good game, man. It's going to be one of those come down to it. It's going to be one of those fourth quarter, 5 minutes. Everybody's going to be on the edge of their seat watching, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I see you got the Jags covering the spread too. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I just look. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought we should have got Zay Jones. I don't know why people wasn't up on him earlier when he came out. I'm just like, don't get Zay. And Jacksonville ripped him straight up, man.
Absolutely.
He'd have been a great fit in Kansas City, especially playing in the division too. You know what I'm saying? He was with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Come on over here, man. You know how it is. Come on over. They don't like you. We love you, right?
That's a fact.
Be with the one that likes you, like you said, right?
That's right. Hey, man. Gotta like who like you, man.
That's right.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So, but it's going to be strained on both defenses, I think. For them guys, I like Mike. Me and Mike play together, man, in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be watching these guys, but it's going to be a good weekend. Just kind of watch these guys go at it. But I do have Kansas City just with the experience they had, 31-24.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Justin Reed said today, they interviewed him, and he said that they're going to be expecting anything in this game. Last time we played Jacksonville, they opened up the game with the onside kick. So that kind of stuff we'll be probably seeing on Saturday. Maybe not an onside kick. We'll be watching for that, but they'll be trying to do some crazy stuff, some Philly special type things.
Yeah, man. At least, man, it's win or go home, brother. So you ain't no leaving no bullets in the gun, man. You got to empty the bullets, man, and let it go, because ain't no tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Quinn, we honestly thank you for coming on tonight, man. We'll be definitely be checking you out at Albany State University this year, man. Quinn Gray.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys having me. It was fun, man. Anytime I can talk ball and talk kids, man, I'm all for it. So anytime you guys need me, man, give me a shout and we can do it again.
And look, man, it'd be great to connect, brother. Like I said, man, I love everything that you have going about you, man. Congratulations on the head coaching job. Like I said again, man, just a wealth of knowledge, and I can just tell, man, just how your disposition is. That you're a winner, and you're one of those that will get guys and put them in position to be successful. You know what I'm saying? Right. Every kid needs that. Every kid needs that. So
that's right. But again, man, I do appreciate you dudes, man. This is a great platform you guys got going on, and I do appreciate you guys letting me be a part of it.
No doubt, my brother. Anytime. Hey, the door's always open, baby. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. I appreciate it.
No
all right. Thanks a bunch, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that was cool having Quinn Gray on. I was looking at it earlier, looking at our guests. We've had Thigpen, we've had Quinn Gray, both guys through touchdown passes in that 08 season. All we need is Brody and Damon. We have the entire QB depth chart from that 2008 season.
Good team. All good guys, man. First time just a great guy. You can tell he's a great guy, man. Just measured and everything. I love it. I love it. You know, so shoot, that right here is just a platform in itself for kids who are watching this show as well. Hey, this is a guy that got a lot of the answers. And, you know, also too, me being a college coach, seeing it, these are the things kids need to hear. They need to hear things like this. Yeah. And so, we got to get some things, man, reach the younger generation so they learn some ball. Like, hey, this is some ball players giving you some real information, wealth of knowledge, man. And so these keys of taking something like this to heart will help a kid out, help the family out for the things he's doing. But also, too, it's just his expertise, in itself, just talking about the Jacksonville and Kansas City game. That's a lot of good insight that he just kind of gave for the game, especially playing that position too as a quarterback. Yeah. You to the mindset where he's quantifying everything, right? I love it. So
it's always interesting having the quarterbacks come on here and talk, because you just because they're the guy, they're the leaders in the field, they're seeing everything that's going on, especially defensively. That's why when you asked the question defensively, I was like, that's a good question right there. Because I mean, that's the stuff he's looking at when he's watching. I'm sure same with you when you're watching NFL games, your eyes are glued to with the tight end, the edge rusher, and all that stuff. How that stuff's going on and the routes from the tight ends. But these quarterbacks, they're reading defenses every time they're and obviously you guys are doing that too, but they're looking at it from a different point of view, right? They're reading defenses when they're watching games.
Well, that's they prep. So when they sit over there, they got to make the read first, and they think what they're going to do. So when the snap comes, they're looking at the routes, they're looking at who's the guy that was open. Yeah, so no doubt about it. I'm looking, like I said, if I'm going out for a route, okay, I'm looking at what the route is going to be, the D line, all those different things, and how you block a particular guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Creatures of habit. That's what it is. And so that was a great interview. Great interview. So
those kids at Albany State are very lucky to have Quinn Gray.
Without a doubt, exceptional.
But all right, well, that does it for us. We hope you guys have a great divisional round weekend. Saturday after the game, we'll be back for our quick post-game show. We're going to do it real fast. We want to get back to watching the playoff game. So it'll be a nice quick one like we did with the holidays, probably about a 15 to 20 minute show, and we'll be done with it. But yeah, so I hope you guys stick around for the post-game show on Saturday. So we'll see you guys Saturday. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.